Ms. O'Donnell,
Here.
Mr. Pangaro.
Here.
We have a quorum, and I will give you the flag.
Okay, you would stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item is the approval of our minutes from November 9th.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, seconded. Any changes or comments on it? No?
None for me.
If not, then all those in favor, please signify. Unanimous. All righty. Wanted to take a second and just kind of update us a little bit as to what's happened since our last meeting. We did get an article in the Cheshire Patch on some of the things that are going on. We have in early December, Jen and I are going to be doing the Cheshire Cast podcast. You saw the video that Dr. Solon and I did to just try to drive people towards the Facebook page. And we've gotten, I think some decent, likes onto our Facebook page and some awareness of the page, and obviously we want to keep growing that. Let's start there if we can, and Kate, Jen, or Jeff, what is your impression right now where we are technologically?
So we continue to grow, but it was really, really slow. It's been kind of creeping up. We're at 315 likes and 343 followers. So that's up about 30 from last week, or actually last meeting. Twitter, we're up to 26 followers from 18. So that's some good growth on Twitter. So, it's slowly growing, but that's still a really small audience. If you think about even how many families are in the school district and how many families are in the town, that's really, really a small portion of the population. And I think we just have a lot more work to do to keep getting that message out to different groups and, use some of our other strategies to kind of get people aware and following us.
So we have had individual posts that have gotten substantially more looks though, right?
Yeah, we've had some engagements on some of the posts. I told you Brian Lopez had posted on a few. I told you he's a science teacher at Dodd, and
Right.
I think people see his posts who know him in the community. So I think that's where a lot of our engagements were from, because he's in the community and part of the system. So I think that kind of maybe helped us get a few more views this week. But the big one was the options, and it's just slowly growing now.
Yeah. What can we do to help push the product?
I think we need to, I think we're talking about number 6, but actually reach out to some of these groups. I'm kind of concerned, like if we're going to make a decision to go in front of the board in January, like we have a very short window to get people engaged in the process and sharing their opinion and feeling like they're listened to. It's like, I'm not sure how much we can get in this short amount of time, but keep posting, keep pushing it on the forum, putting it on the education forum. We just need to make sure that we engage people so they feel like they had a voice in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we sent it out for our email list and distribution for Cheshire football. I have actually another call with them after this. I'll bring it up. I brought it up for Cheshire Education Foundation too. So they're going to share it through their Facebook messaging and the like. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of in this mix of time of year is tough right now versus, we're going to be right against the date in January. And I know all of us, are encouraging a transparent process with the public, which I think the information that we're posting is showing that. But we know what's going to happen come February 1st. Well, I didn't know, I wasn't involved, and
Mhm.
we want to be able to at least put our heads down, knowing that we did everything in our power to engage the community that doesn't want to be engaged.
I think Kate kind of hit on it, though, if I could just jump in. I mean, she
Yeah.
talked about Brian posting and other people, then it gets their attention. And I was just thinking about how, these social media people, they literally pay people to post on there just to generate turnover, and they pay for likes and things like that. I'm not suggesting we do that, but the people, rather than just asking people to follow, if everybody got 3 or 4 people to post a comment, that's the viral nature of social media. So maybe we can commit to that in the short term, to rope in 3 volunteers to post on our website, and hope that strategy gains more. And all I have to post is, this is really great information. I'll have to tell my friends or something, and when they post that, their friends will see it and hopefully go that route.
Yeah. Well, that may be something. Obviously Jeff has come in now. Jen Bates is here. Chuck is with us. So just want to say hello to everybody. Yeah, I think that's something maybe we can push the whole committee to do. We've got 13 people there. If everybody were to repost each of these things, you may get 10 times that in terms of people seeing it.
I had a question, Rich. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt. I'll forget it in 30 seconds. Are we allowed to comment on it? I wasn't, I wanted to comment, with Brian and stuff, but I wasn't know if that was not
You
maybe
can, as
allowed
long
or-
as it's not in the blackout period, which is 60 days in advance of referendum.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think you have to be a little bit careful, only because you're a committee member and decisions haven't been made yet. So you don't want to be.
Well, I was thinking
making
more of
statements.
sharing the post with a comment, to try to at least, through myself, my wife, and the connection.
Yeah, yeah. Hoping you'll all take a look at this. This is important. We're working hard.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. Sure.
I
No
had that
problem
weird
at all.
feeling doing it. I wasn't know if we were allowed to or not.
Yeah, I just wouldn't at this point, say I like
I have no opinion.
scenario such and such. Hope that that's
Yeah.
where we go. Want to stay open enough until we get to a point where the committee's actually making formal decisions. Kate, we talked last time about the fact that I keep getting all these things from, from Facebook about boosting some of the things that are on there, and for a small fee.
Yeah.
Does that really pay off? Is it worth anything?
It does work. It does help you because it pushes it out and puts it to the top of people's feed, and it does make a difference. I've done it before on other committees that I've been on, and it does make a difference. All of a sudden you get that little jump that you're looking for when you boost a post.
Yeah. So it may be, Jen, I'm talking to you at this point. I don't think it's very expensive. It seems to be, from what they say, a matter of dollars. But when we've got a post or two now and again that's very specific, like when we first put out the scenarios, that would have been one maybe to boost, so that you get it out to as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah, and you can set how much you want to spend. So you can spend, $1 a day for 20 days. You can spend $20 in one day. You can set it up for however you want to do it. So I don't know if we have funds to be able to do that. I'm not sure about the financial aspect of that, but I'm sure someone here does.
Well, I know the town council gave us a pool of money. I have no idea what the status is.
Or how do we spend it?
Do you have a
I'm
bag
not
of
sure.
money there, Arnett, that's available to us?
Or
Well, if
credit
it's-
card, or
$20, I'll give you the cash. There's money, you do have a budget, and this doesn't sound like an exorbitant amount of money. So once you decide what you want to do, we'll put a purchase order through and we'll take care of the financial end of it. So if we're talking $100 or less, that it's not an issue at all.
I'm guessing, that's the kind of money we're talking about. But before I do anything, I'll run it by Jen as chairman so that, she's approved it before we do anything.
Yeah,
But
and
I
it
do
may
think
be-
that it's worth it.
It may be something that you would have to pay for when you do it yourself.
Yep.
You have to put a credit card into Facebook, and then I guess you would then submit reimbursement to Arnett, and then that's where Arnett would have to somehow do a purchase order to get
Yeah,
it
we
back
can
to you.
absolutely reimburse. Yep.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay. Talk about our webpage for a second. What's the status of that at this point? I went on the other day, it hadn't
Looks
changed
great.
yet.
No, it looks great. Arnett, can you put it up?
Oh,
so
has it
everybody can
changed
see
since
it?
I was there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked on it this weekend. Let me see if I can find. Oh, I don't have it live. Let me get it. Okay. Okay, some of this we can't do a lot with because we have the software that we have. But this layout is something that we'll replicate on the new website when we get that up, and we can put some more.
So this is still the original website.
So this is the website that's currently live.
Mhm.
We've changed things around. We've got the comments right up front. We've got your links pretty bold. The presentations are linked. Then we have the committee and subcommittee minutes and agendas. Unfortunately, you do need to scroll a little bit to get there, but we also have the committees for the drop downs, the committee members, and we can beef up these pages a little bit as well. And then we still have the statement of mission and the acronyms. We have those down at the bottom. I do want to get a copy of the, if you want to have the updated summary of public comments and questions, I can get that on there as well. And if there's any other information that you want on here.
Then,
So now, if I wanted to go to the minutes of a meeting, where are the minutes?
If the committee and subcommittee agendas and minutes are here. So
Oh,
if you
okay.
want to go to the full committee, or if you want to go to the communications.
Oh, great. Okay.
And
And then if I wanted to see one of the presentations that was done, that's in a separate,
that would be the actual presentations are listed here.
okay.
So
And
the
are all of
last-
those there? So for instance, the last meeting, there was McBroom and McBride or whatever it is. I never remember the name.
We have
Malone
this,
and McBroom.
yeah, this one, the draft scenarios is up there, and capacity from Malone and McBroom.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. And Melanie's looking to see if we missed any, which I'm afraid I might have, so we'll supplant those.
All right,
So it's better than it was. It's still not, it's
It's
still not
100% better,
but
yeah.
it's better than it was. And as I said, we'll use this basic format layout type of thing for the new web page, and it'll just look a lot cleaner with the
Right.
same
Do
information.
we have any kind of counter on there so that we know how many hits it's getting or anything?
Not on this one, but we do on, we will one on the other one. Yeah,
Okay.
this website's, we're trying to make the switch as quickly as we can.
I mean, I'm guessing that it's not a lot of hits, but I would love to know,
Yeah,
if very many people are going to it, particularly as we move ahead and start, really making final decisions.
Yep.
Well, I think that'll make it whole lot easier for people to find things. And I think particularly the comment that I've heard from a couple of people is just they want to go in and they want to be able to see the presentations more than anything else. We don't have any links on there that bring you to the videos at all, do we?
no, not yet.
Is
No, we
that
haven't done
something that we can
That's
add
what
in?
we're working on that too. Yeah,
Okay.
we want to get those up there.
We've got all the the videos of the main meetings and the subcommittee meetings and all
Yep.
that stuff. And you got to really go hunting right now to find
Right.
some of them.
Right.
Um,
What I'd
yeah.
like to do is on the, when you link to go to the agendas and minutes, we'll change that to say agendas, minutes, and meeting videos.
Mhm.
So people can watch each of them.
Yep, that would be perfect.
Or maybe under the follow us area, Arnett, we could add a link to the YouTube channel.
Or we could do that as well. Oh, that I can do easily. Yeah, I'll do that. I will do that right away.
The only problem was the YouTube channel doesn't have everything there in any sensible order.
Right, right. Well, we'll do both. We'll put the link on for the YouTube, and we'll also do the individual videos so people can click on
As I
them
said,
by
you
date.
sometimes really have to go hunting for a while to try to find the ones that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It comes in based on the title, the dates, whatever, I don't know what, but so yeah, if eventually it was there, so you go to a particular minute of a agenda of a particular meeting, and then you can click and you can see that particular meeting, that would be fantastic. So, all right,
We'll do
good,
that.
good. Any other comments on the tech? Okay, I did talk a little bit with Chuck and Jen this afternoon, and some of that, well, in fact, all of that relayed to our posts, and just making sure that our posts are very, very clear in terms of not leading anybody to believe that certain decisions have been made and that we're automatically moving in certain directions. So we want to make sure that we're getting clear factual information out there. I think particularly in some of the graphics, people will grab onto a graphic very quickly and maybe make some conclusions. So that's me posting certain things, grabbing graphics from various places. And so we'll just be very careful of that. So one of the things that we talked about, Jen and Chuck and I, is just to make sure that after each meeting, we'll jot down some of the main things that go on, and then from there, write up a short post to be putting up so that we make sure that we're getting the gist of it. We're in that very sensitive time right now where I think we're moving very quickly towards making some final decisions. And the next few weeks, we want to make sure that it's very clear to the public that we were thorough, that we really looked at all the options, that we didn't come into it with our minds made up ahead of time. So I don't know, Jen or Chuck, did you want to say anything more on that?
Yeah, I would just say, one, I think we've done a great job, like I was telling Rich, of getting the information out there. I just want to be careful if we're taking a slide from a presentation that it's not posted and taken out of context. So some of the slides that we see during the presentation from both of the Mylone and McBroom and also Collier's, they're part of a bigger picture of the scenario. So we want to make sure if we're taking a snip of that, it's not something that can be taken out of context, and it may be something that maybe we summarize a little bit differently than just a screenshot from the presentation. That's all.
Yeah, by the nature of our posts, we'll often grab one graphic out of 25 and put that up there, and obviously that one could be misconstrued if we're not careful. So we'll just watch that, make sure that doesn't happen. Anything else on the tech or any of those issues? All right, great. Jeff, you were going to put together a graphic of timeline. Where are we with that?
Well, I wish my graphic artist skills were past 1999, but I got a crash course from my 21-year-old analyst intern helping me. So I'm going to do it through a PowerPoint. Hopefully that's okay, but it looks like it's something that can be done, and hopefully by the end of the week I'll have it completed.
Yeah.
So
PowerPoint works well. You can easily convert that to something that can be put onto Facebook,
right.
like some PDFs and things, which are a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the only time it starts getting a little tough is if, depending on how many, points in time that we want to add to it, um, where it starts to get a little bit busy.
Yeah, I tried to keep it pretty simple,
Yeah,
the ones that I gave you, just
those
the
worked fine.
big,
Yeah, I think
the
we're gonna be
big
just fine.
points.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna put in every single meeting or anything like that, but before we post it, we'll run it past Jen and Chuck and maybe Colliers and just make sure
Right.
that, we're all right. But, it keeps adjusting a little bit from meeting to meeting. So I think the dates I had in there, and I tried to be more general um, than
Perfect. That's good.
some of what Colliers had given us. But, so like late June, this would happen,
Right.
whatever. But I do think it's important that we get that out there and people get a sense of, where we're headed and how fast.
Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to work on in conjunction as we go through this process. I don't know if anybody here has been able to see the report that John Gollick put out in reference to the options for Bartlett. The town's kind of going through a very similar thing on a much smaller scale with all of the different options for the Chapman property at Bartlett. And that kind of has been coming to fruition, and they have a couple scenarios, and they're presenting those scenarios. Um, but one of the pieces of information that I got from there is they were able to break down per person the tax cost for each option on a monthly basis and an annual basis to kind of really trigger some of these things to hit home. And what I liked about it from our perspective is we take this really large expensive project and we break it down to, wow, we can redo all of Bartlett and it's going to cost my household $400 a year. Yeah, I know we're a ways from getting what those numbers are, but it was a really cool chart. I'll send it out. I was waiting for it to be more public, I guess.
I'm making the assumption that, once we get a little bit farther down the road, the Colliers will be doing that, probably
Yeah.
in conjunction with the town's finance people. I've done a couple of projects in the past where we've gone out to referendum and we always have that information. Here's the impact it'll have on the mill rate. Here's if you have a house that's worth $400,000, here's what that will, translate into. And I think the other piece too is people will look and say, well, we're in kind of a tough financial situation right now because of the COVID and everything else. What they don't realize is, a lot of these costs won't really come into fruition for 3-4 years from now. So, you got to be looking ahead as to where this construction is, and hopefully, the economy will be booming and Cheshire will just have piles of money by that point. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully you're not retired.
Coffee.
All right. We were talking about branding ideas. Thank you to Jeff Solon. He put me in contact with Brittany. Is it McCary? Is that how you say it?
Sorry.
McCary. And she runs a marketing program at Cheshire High. So one of the things we did, you got a copy of it, I put together. Here's where we're at right now. Here's the details of what the committee has done so far. Here's the kind of material that we've seen in other places like South Windsor and Guilford. And here's an idea of what some of the students can work on. So she's actually assigning this to some of her students as their mid-year exam. And we got an email today where she wanted myself and anyone else who's available to be able to do a meeting a video meeting with the students in December, and to talk through a little bit about where we're at, what it's all about, and then send them off to work. And we'll see what they come up with. Hopefully, they may have some wonderful creative ideas of some things that we can do. I know when we talked to the South Windsor people that they said that Colliers was very instrumental there when they were developing a lot of the materials and ideas. I haven't really talked at length with Chuck at all about what potentially they can do for us, but I think that's something follow up with also. Comments?
I mean, I would just say that, it's wonderful that we're involving the school, and Colliers obviously has a lot more experience as a whole than we all do individually. So the more we lean on them, I think the better we'll be as a group.
Yeah, we're sort of in the middle, and I said this to Brittany when I talked to her, it would almost be a little bit easier if it was in January and we knew where we were at as we move towards a final piece, and then they develop the branding and marketing as part of that. At the moment, they may get a sense of where we're going, but we're probably going to have still, when they're working on this in December, there's going to be, multiple options still sitting on the table. But I'm hoping they'll give us some good ideas, maybe some graphics. I talked to them about possibly putting together a video or more than one. A lot of this is stuff that was done in South Windsor. So, I'm looking and saying a lot of this stuff we want to be able to push out in, winter and spring. But more than anything else, we really want a lot of stuff that's available once the town council approves this and we start looking towards the citizenry. This isn't really to convince the town council, it's really to make sure that the citizens have all the information that they need. So, okay. The survey, Jen, you said, I had raised some questions on the survey. Kate had put together some ideas, Jeff did. They overlapped a fair amount. But as I looked at it, I kept coming back to, I'm not certain exactly what we're trying to gain from the survey and how we would get it out there and how we would analyze it. And I expressed that to Jen today, and she said, guess what? We have another option. So Jen, I'm going to turn it over to you if you don't mind.
We met with Chuck Warrington and Rebecca from Malone and McBroom today for a few minutes to talk about status. And they had mentioned that something they had done in a previous project was to survey the people in the town to see if they were, at what threshold they were willing to take on more tax burden. So giving them an option of saying, if this contributes X amount of dollars to your tax, would you be comfortable with that? And then getting to the point where people start saying, no, I'm not comfortable with that. That's kind of where we are in the window. So we were looking to possibly merge these two activities into one. Rebecca has worked with a company that specializes in surveys, doing phone banks and calling people directly. And they would like to take your objective and combine it with their objective and have this professional company do the survey for us. So kind of want to get some information from you guys, get you connected to Rebecca and figure out what questions on your survey. And they'll probably reword things based on their knowledge and professional opinion. But if you can at least tell them what the objective was that you were trying to get with those questions, they can help kind of reword things in the most accurate way to make it statistically significant and scientifically accurate. So that's the goal.
Part of the difficulty that I had is that our timeline is moving very quickly. So for instance, if we had all the time in the world, I'd love to know what percentage of the population out there feels that, building a new high school would be, their top priority or whatever. But by the time the questionnaire is developed and gets out there and you get the responses back, our committee will have already moved ahead and put something out there. So, clearly we don't want to go at it at that level. And to some extent, we will also be committing to a certain dollar figure, depending on which scenario we pick. So, the survey, I'm looking at it as something where it's the information that you're going to want to have come February, March, April. And so I think we really have to think hard about what exactly we would be hoping to get out of that would help us move forward as we go into the election season in the fall.
think when I was coming up with the questions, I mean, and I understand like we are pretty late in the game for putting out a survey because we're like weeks away from choosing a scenario. So that does make it more challenging, but part of it is really just to engage them and to get people to think about like what is important to you when it comes to school modernization, and for us to know what that is too. Like, are they really? These are.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's not necessarily choosing which option or which scenario as much as saying to people, here's something that was really important to you. Having strong science programs in the schools, and the limit that we have presently in certain facilities that will be improved by this. You can, as you say, target it to certain audiences in the process. Some people may look and say, look, I just don't want to be pouring a lot of money into old buildings. So therefore, if you can show them that there's some real cost savings in doing a certain proposal and then mothballing some buildings or something, that may be very important to them in terms of their vote. So yeah, that's, I think, the kind of thing. So Jen, will they be in touch with us, or should we be in touch with them? How's this going to work?
I could send an email and copy both Rebecca and you, Rich, and then you guys can pull in whoever you need to have that conversation. But at least I'll, I know you guys know each other, but I'll at least, start the conversation for you and get you going.
So Rebecca would be the point person on this?
I believe so. I'll include Chuck Warrington in it as well, but she's the one that has the contact for the survey company, and she's the one that has done it before.
Okay, because I had sent an email back when we first started talking about the survey to Chuck, and he came back saying he didn't have any particular surveys. He'd be glad to talk to me, about some ideas. But that was it at that point. So, so I think it would be great if our subcommittee had a meeting with Rebecca and possibly Chuck too, and just begin, and whoever's run in this company that they have, and begin to brainstorm, what kind of materials we want, what kind of ideas we're looking at.
Yeah, I'll send out an email and you guys can set up that meeting.
Okay, good. Because time's moving quickly. I mean, I'm
Yes,
amazed. You go from the election to Thanksgiving to Christmas, and
It'll
poof,
be January before you know it.
yeah, and we're 3 weeks from making a decision and moving on. So, it's something else. Anything else on the survey?
I had a couple questions I was hoping we could add as well to the list. Like when Cheshire Schools did their communication survey, they had asked the question about what is the best way for us to communicate with you. And they didn't have their raw data because it got, shuffled from another company. And I was hoping we could ask that same question, because I think that additionally will help us when we're trying to message out to people. So we know what percentage of people want Facebook or email, and it might be a good time for us also to say, do you want to be in our communication thing? Give us your email or your cell phone, or you'd like to collect that contact information from people who want to be more in the loop.
Well, you have those, first rough draft of the questions on Google Drive.
Yep.
So, any of us can go in and start to just brainstorm and lay out some ideas, so that when we meet with Rebecca, at least we've got something laid out there. Based on our new timeline and what we're talking about, we might want to, alter what you had put out there initially and add some new material in. So, feel free in your spare time to, play around with those things. And then hopefully, at least we'll have something we can put in front of Rebecca when we do meet with her.
Okay.
Jeff, you had something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, following up on Kate's earlier point that, for the last couple of years, we've administered something called the ServQual survey. It's a service quality industry survey that we give, and we did it around communications. That basically the premise of the whole survey is that you need to identify what people's expectations are, and they could be high or low or whatever. And the closer that you deliver on the expectation, the better people feel about it. And so, like, somebody could have low expectations, but if you deliver on those low expectations, people feel really good about that because you've met their expectation. It's not necessarily about exceeding the expectation. It's just meeting them where they are. And so to really understand what people are expecting from this process, or, to Jeff's point from earlier about what it would cost, the expectation of what am I getting for this cost. I think just having that information will help us to deliver on those expectations. And hopefully that will then ultimately propel future work.
Yeah, and we did take a look at that survey that the school system had done, and pulled some information from that. And there's a lot of good material in there. We do have, a couple of things coming down the line. We do want to help to support a group that would be advocates for whatever project we end up choosing. I've kind of held off a little bit. We've got some information and some potential names, but I felt that it would be hard to get people revved up and ready to go while there's still question about what exactly it is that we're doing. So I'm thinking more along the lines of, after January 30th, and we sort of have a direction. And that group really is going to do their work between the time that the town council approves, and that 60-day window going into November. So we do have a bit of time in the spring to get that group up and running. Jen, I know in the last go around, you were very involved with a group like that, although it never fully got off the ground because the project didn't go forward. But got any words of wisdom you want to share with us on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first thing I would say is that it's not only just the 60 days prior to the referendum. We formed this PAC early on. We were kind of in a holding pattern for a while, making sure that we had everything in line. We had a website, we had a Facebook page, we got everything ready to go. And we're planning on moving forward as soon as the town council sent it to, approved it to be sent to referendum. As everyone knows, that didn't happen, so that's kind of where we stopped. But we did a lot of work ahead of time to get ready for that. We had brochures printed, we had a lot of people involved. We were talking about getting lawn signs and things like that. We didn't want to spend a lot of money until we knew it was going to go to referendum, so we didn't purchase a lot of things, but we did get started. We had a lot of meetings and talked about what we wanted to do, so that when we got the go ahead, we were ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah. When I said that the work is within that 60 days, I didn't mean that you wouldn't do a whole lot of stuff leading up to that, but it's all geared towards that 60-day window.
And it's a very independent group. They are not part of our committee. They would act on their own, and that would be completely separate from what we were doing.
And that's why I see our role there as just helping to get something started. And that's about it. I don't see us as being active members of that group or anything like that.
No, we're not active members. We are not driving it. We are not telling them what to do. There's no oversight whatsoever.
Right. So, but do you agree that it would be hard to get that group up and running until you know exactly what it is we're going to be building?
I mean, yeah, we can wait until we have an option picked. I wouldn't wait any longer than that, though. Once we have decided on what option we're recommending, I would definitely start reaching out to people and seeing what we can do. Because that will be like late January, February-ish, and that will give them time to get some stuff ready to go. And then the town council, hopefully within a couple months after that, will give us the go-ahead to go to referendum.
Yeah. We clearly have people out there who would get involved just because they strongly believe in a good school system. But we also have a lot of people that get involved if their child will benefit from whatever it is we're going to do. So I see, depending on, which options, which scenarios we go with, some people, may decide, hey, this is in my interest to really get out there and push this because my child will eventually really gain from this process. At least that's been my experience in the past, so, and, you've got some people out there that are highly energetic and will really, jump into this sort of thing if we can help them to get started. That's all.
Right.
And then the other thing we had talked about doing, which again, I think, Kate, you had mentioned it a little bit, is beginning to try to get to individual groups in town to do presentations. And, COVID's made that a little bit harder. I know when I've done some construction projects in the past, I had all my graphics and I would go out to the various groups in town, and you spend 15, 20 minutes with the Kiwanis Club or the football group or whatever, and you show them some pictures of what it is you're looking to do. And a lot of that might have to be done online at this point, but I do think that we need to start developing a list of those groups and the contacts. And if we get just a little bit farther down the line and we do have a little bit more in terms of exactly where we're headed, we start getting out to those groups and do some presentations so that they have an in-depth understanding of all the details. And I found that was really helpful, when I would be in front of a group like the Kiwanis Club or whatever. It was often people who didn't have children in school. It was often people who were talking about some of the financial implications. And they were very appreciative that you stood in front of them and fielded a lot of those questions. So I want to make sure that we can begin to do that. But if everyone who's here can begin to just jot down some of the various groups in town, and a name and a contact, so that we can begin to think ahead about getting in contact with each of these groups and setting up some meetings. Again, I would say probably towards late January, February.
I think one of the unique challenges, obviously, that we're facing right now is a lot of people aren't meeting in person.
Yeah.
And I think, again, continuing to leverage social media to the greatest extent possible.
And I don't know about you, for me, it makes it much harder. I
Yeah.
can stand in front of a group and have a conversation, and it has much more effect than seeing my little picture on the television screen.
It's obviously much more personal, and you can have that give and take at that point. So maybe even, if there were a 5-minute, even a well-produced video that Mike Salamini could do with us to try and identify, from whatever the marketing class or whatever comes up with, when we have a well thought out rationale for it or whatever, and then a Google Meet or Zoom call or whatever the case is with different groups.
Right.
to
So you
have-
show them the video and then
Yeah,
it would open for question answer.
yeah. I don't
And then
know.
I think, as Jeff noted earlier, we're going to need a lot of that other information. Depending
Yeah.
on the group you're talking to, they're going to want to know the financial implications and the whole scenario. Where do you go after you do the first step? That sort of thing.
But I think there's a lot we could even start building and putting together now, because we have a lot of information about the need of the buildings, the age of the buildings, the out of compliance with ADA. Like, I think there's a lot of information that we could start to tell that story. And then once we have a direction that we're going, then, we can kind of flesh it out. So if we could kind of get a jump on some of those pieces, maybe start to put that story together, then when we get to January, it won't be like we're all of a sudden trying to put it together and get it done quickly.
Yep, that's a great idea. So if when you're hanging back, if you can start brainstorming some ideas and shoot them over to me, and I'll do the same thing. And we've got some of it on our site already. And I think it's a matter of, particularly if we go with certain scenarios over others, we can very quickly focus in on particular buildings and what some of the needs are and the impact educationally. We've got a lot of that kind of information, but again, I think we probably want it in, short bulleted format, something that just kind of hits people with, the facts.
Yeah.
That's all I have on the agenda. You have anything else? people want to talk about?
Good.
You want to set up our next meeting while we're here?
Sure thing.
Take a quick look. So let's see, we have school modernization is on the 7th, Monday, the 7th. And do you want to go the 14th, Monday, the 14th?
Good with me.
Yep.
All right. Then Monday, the 14th, 6:30, once again on Zoom. And that's it, everyone. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Motion
Stay
to
safe,
adjourn.
stay healthy. And
You
we'll
too.
see you
Happy
after
Thanksgiving.
the holiday. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Jeff gave it to you.
Second.
Thank you very much. See you all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Bye.